Hello and welcome everybody to today's video. In today's video we're going to be looking over at Earl, Crucible's very own space trucker. When looking at Earl, I would like to say he's very similar to Summer in the sense that he is a frontline DPS character. He's very healthy and has his little chain gun with him, and his passive, similar to how Summer had her overeat passive, Earl has his turbo fire mechanic, which is essentially a rate of fire and spin up time buff for his weapon, which he names Misty. All of his skills can build up turbo fire if you take the perks for them, but for the most part you build turbo fire for using one of his abilities and by firing his left click. Taking a closer look at Earl's abilities, we can see that his left click is when he fires his trusted minigun Misty. This weapon has a strange mechanic, which I went over previously, turbo fire. It starts off at a slow base fire rate of only 5 shots a second, but with the turbo fire mechanic can quickly reach 16 shots a second, which makes him a very considerable DPS target, considering Summer, she hits 16 times a second for around comparable damage. So they both do a lot of damage very quickly with their basic attacks. As for his right click ability, upshift, he basically replaces his ammunition for some high explosive ammunition for about 1.5 seconds. This is dictated based on his fire rate, so if you have no turbo fire built, you can only fire about 5 to 10 of these. If you do have max turbo fire, you can quickly fire 20 of these. It is very powerful, very crazy. His movement skill is one of my favorite in the game. It's called Afterburner. After 1 second warm-up delay, he fires a rocket in the back of Misty and he grabs on tight and just zooms around the map. It is very fun to use, very satisfying, and you can run into people dealing damage with them and stunning them if you take the upgrade perk at level 4. As for his Q, his first active ability, he basically drinks a monster energy drink and throws it behind himself, healing him. You can deal damage with the can if you throw it. I don't think I've ever seen it happen to me or while I'm playing him. It's very inconsistent, but it is nice that it's there, technically. As for his final ability, his blowback vents. I know how to speak English, trust me. He basically forms a air updraft around himself, deflecting enemy projectiles and dealing a small amount of damage while lifting himself off the ground. I very rarely find myself using this ability for anything more than aggressing on somebody or trying to get away from people. The projectile redirect is really the only boon of this ability, so if you're trying to get close to somebody and they have more range than you, this is obviously the way to do it. Or if you're trying to leave a team fight or you're trying to leave a fight that you're losing, this can be really helpful, as you can remove the incoming damage while you gain distance before you can use your movement skill. As for Earl's perks, you can take on level up. His starting level 1 perks is Big Rig, which gains a decent amount of health, High Idle, which is a 25% turbo fire, like minimum. Basically, you'd never go below 25%. Or Packing a Spare, which gives him some ammo capacity. Me personally, I find Big Rig to be the most useful here in most cases. 300 health is a lot, especially at the beginning of the game, because you already tower over some of the other characters' health pools, and to have an additional 300 on top of that is very, very nice. The maximum ammo is also very nice, because you do have a lengthy reload, as it's 3 seconds minimum for reload, and then an additional 1 second for every piston that's broken after the first, up to 5 seconds. So having 30 ammo is a big deal because your reload is very lengthy. The turbo fire depletion, I don't find that to be too useful, as it's so fast to build turbo fire. This is really if you're trying to play him more of a DPS, but I feel like he's more of like a tanky kind of distraction type character. At least that's how it usually worked when I was playing him, is I would kind of fight people almost indefinitely and they would always be distracted while my team did objectives. As for his level 2, medkits heal 50% more. It's a non-optional perk. It's not bad. It definitely is useful since you have such a high base health pool. You can very easily hit over 2,000 health with him. So it is nice to have an additional healing for medkits, so you don't have to spam so many. But overall, it's a pretty... You probably would notice if you didn't have the skill. As for level 3, things get a little more interesting. Personally, my favorite one here is Scattershot, which essentially turns your right click or your upshift or little explosive rounds into a larger AoE, and they now do bleed damage, is what I consider DOT in this game, because most of them are bleeds. It does damage over time now, which is very nice, as Earl can't necessarily chase or gun down somebody while he's doing his movement skills, because they don't allow him to fire. So you can right click, hit somebody with this while they take damage, and catch up to them. And it's a very nice way to deal damage while being able to use either your bullet reflection on updraft or your movement skill. As for directional vents, it increases blow black. I still can't say that word for some reason. Duration increases its movement speed. It's okay. Again, I only find myself using this skill every so often, so I wouldn't go for this upgrade, as you're not going to really get a lot of use out of it. X-Turbo Draft is fairly nice. Basically, whenever you heal yourself with his Mountain Dew can, you get max Turbo Fire. This could be really useful in a fight, but usually you're only healing while you're fighting, and you're at max Turbo already. So this would be something you would do if, like, let's say a fight is over, or you're about to start a fight, but you're not fully healed and you don't have time to use a medkit. You would drink your Mountain Dew, get the full fire rate bonus, but I don't find that skill usable in most cases. As for level 4, you get full throttle whenever colliding with somebody when using Afterburner, his insanely fun movement seize skill. As long as you're moving at max speed, however, you deal a little bit of damage, push them back, and stun them. This can be very useful, but as most hunters, except for I think Mendoza, have movement. I think Mendoza and the red dude, I can never remember his name. I think they're the only people without movement. So most people can dodge this ability or silence you out of it. In the case of Shiraki, I think's her name. I haven't played her yet, so my brain doesn't know her name. So this can be interrupted, but it is really fun. And it's a non-optional skill, so I mean, you get to try to use it anyway, no matter what. As for level 5, you had Redline, which essentially, once you reach maximum turbo fire, you get an additional fire rate increase, and your projectile speed goes up. This can be really useful. You also get Pierce, which Earl's big struggle to me is his clear. I feel like it takes him a long time to clear because he doesn't deal that much damage per shot. And then he also has a really lengthy reload time. But with this piercing, you can clear mobs very quickly. And if you're fighting in a team fight, and let's say there's like a bunker in front of a Mendoza, or you got two people kind of lined up to each other shooting at you, you can usually hit both of them. So it is a very nice skill. And then Starball Energy Drink basically cleanses you of negative effects and heals an additional 50%. That's a big deal, as that means you can no longer be silenced, blinded. I think it removes certain bleeds, not all of them. So it is definitely a really nice skill. Alright everybody, thank you guys for getting this far in the video. As for my opinion on Earl overall, I feel like he's very, very fun to play, but I feel like he's also not super great compared to the other heroes. I feel like he's probably a strong B tier, just because he can do DPS, but oftentimes you get out DPS'd, and his abilities kind of make him a sitting duck in most cases. He's also very, very easy to hit with a large hitbox, and with the hitboxes being as janky as they are right now, because this game did just release, you can get headshots while shooting him in the shoulder sometimes. And since he has such broad shoulders, it's very easy to get a lot of critical damage on you, which is part of the reason why he loses a lot of DPS fights. I also wanted to mention, my voice probably sounds very monotone, more so than usual. I'm not feeling too hot today, but I did want to finish this video, as I started on it yesterday and didn't get it out yesterday because of some stuff that happened. So I apologize for my monotone voice, but I wanted to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.